Welcome back. What our house is missing so far is a hanging ceiling light for the dining area. So let's go ahead and create one of those. So let me show you what we're going to be creating. This is what we're going to be creating now. Basically this light here, this fancy light for the dining room area that goes above the dining room table. And it hangs from the ceiling. You can see that there's some chain links up here, so we're going to have to be creating those. And you can see it's got some unique shapes to it, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, I'm going to go to my front view. I'm going to load up the same image that I just showed you, just as a rough guide to help me out. I'm going to match the bitmap, lock the zoom and pan, hit OK, and there we go. Alright, so I'm going to start off in this video with roughing out and knocking out the simplest parts of geometry I can knock out as quickly as possible. Let me start off with the bottom part down here, and you can see the shape that it is. We can create that from half a sphere. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and create ourselves a sphere. Okay. And you can see the sphere here in the front viewport. I'm going to go ahead and move it down like so. Then I'm going to increase its radius, basically so the width matches up with the width on the image. And I'm going to place basically the half point here, right here to this point of the, basically this glass type area right here. So something like this looks pretty good. Now it's got too many segments. We don't need that many. So let's go something like maybe 24 might work out pretty good. I'm going to say 24 is fine. And then I'm going to scale this thing down so it matches up more with the image. I'm going to convert it to an editable poly. I'm going to take all of the top polygons up here and delete them. We don't need those. I'm going to turn on my NURBS toggle. And it looks pretty good. What I might end up doing is scaling it up a little bit more to about something like that's pretty good. I'm not going to get too picky about it. I'm going to come into my perspective view here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on ignore back facing and select all these edges that are right here. Okay, so make sure you have the correct edges selected. I'm going to use the connect tool options here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my front view as a guide here. I'm going to slide this out until I get about the width that I need for this piece that comes down here. See this little kind of adornment right there? I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab all the polygons here in the bottom. Make sure you have the correct polygon selected. I'm going to extrude this out. I'm going to pull it out to about here. What I need to do is I need to flatten these polygons out because right now it's got the center vertex right there is kind of pointing outward. So I'm going to use the align tool and align that at the z-axis. And I'll bring this to about maybe right here. The image is a little bit blurry at this point, a little bit hard to see what we're doing. So I'm going to take a little bit of artistic freedom here to go ahead and create this basically how I want. Doesn't have to be exactly like the image. It's just there's a rough guide. Remember that. Very important. Extrude again. Scale these guys down a bit. Something like that. Looks pretty good. Okay, now let's sharpen some of this stuff out. I'm going to take that edge right there, and this edge here, and this edge right there. Grab the loops. I'm going to chamfer. Turn on NURBS toggle so I can see what's going on. Make it 2 segments and make it pretty small. Bring that out, and we end up with the nice sharp edges right there, which looks pretty good. Okay, so that's kind of what I want right there. Now down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sphere. I'm going to turn on auto grid, very important. And I'm going to make sure that I have my vertex snapping turned on. I'm going to snap to the center vertex right there. Okay. And I'm pretty sure I got it. Looks like I did. Just maybe move this down a little bit like so. I'll move it all the way down like this. And this many segments looks like it's okay. So I'm going to convert that to an editable poly. And what I want to do is I want to delete not half of the polygons, not that half, but I want to shrink it about 1 time. So I delete this half right there. Then I'm just going to pull that up and push it into the object a little bit. So we end up with that kind of little detail that's down there. Okay. Now let's create this sphere up here and this kind of rod that goes down to the light. So let's go over here to the front view so we can see this. Okay. And what I'm going to do is pretty simple. I'm going to go here and create myself a sphere. Now at this point what I'm going to do is, let me see here. Let me move this up to about right here. And what I'll do right here is I'm going to increase its radius a little bit, something like that. And also what I want to do is I want to align it with this object here, just so that everything is correct. So I'll align it in the X, Y, but not the Z, and hit OK. Didn't seem to move much, but I just want to make sure it's perfectly aligned. Now I'm going to come up here. I'm going to convert this thing to an editable poly. And I can take the bottom polygons right there and create that rod piece that I'm looking to create. So I'll go to polygon mode, turn on ignore back facing, select those polygons at the bottom, double check, make sure I have the correct polygon selected. I do. So I'll extrude that. Now I'll just pull it down in there like that. That'll work out pretty good. If I turn on NURBS toggle on this, you can see what I end up with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the edge right here. And I don't really have to chamfer this. I could just go down here to my edit edge rollout, and I can take the crease and increase that. So what I'll do is I'll select the loop first, obviously. Turn on NURBS toggle. And I can come down here and I can increase the crease parameter there all the way up. And it gives me a nice crease right there. So you can chamfer edges or you can use the crease parameter. Whichever one you like is perfectly fine. You'll pretty much achieve very similar, if not the exact same results. Okay, so let me look at the image here again real quick. So I got that piece down. Let's do these pieces that go right here. Now the question is, how many do we need? Well, we can see 2 of them. But I'm willing to bet because of the angle of the picture, there's probably a third one hiding in the back over there. So it's probably going to be 3 that are evenly spaced. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. And the way I'm going to do this is actually pretty simple. I'm just going to create myself a box. Okay. I'm going to take this box and place it over here. Just kind of try to get the rough dimensions of this thing. So I'm going to decrease the height. Pull that to about right there. Maybe I'll decrease the height a little bit more. Make that nice and thin. Okay, so you can see where it's placed here. It's obviously in the wrong place in 3D space. So I'm going to take its x-axis and I'm going to knock that down to 0. Let me see here what I did. Let me undo that a couple of times. I want to take the y-axis and put that at 0. So I'll take the y here, knock that down to, oops, not the z, the y. Gotta learn to read and pay attention a little bit better. Okay, so I'll place that about right there, and I'd say that's pretty much ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to go ahead and, let me see, probably just scale this down a little bit. Make it a little bit thinner. Okay. I'm going to convert it to an editable poly. And all I'm going to do is extrude this and try to get the shape here of this thing. So let's go ahead and get that done quickly. Okay, so now I'll turn on NURBS toggle. I'm going to go back to the perspective view here. I'm going to take all of these edges here. I'm going to select our loops. I'm going to chamfer them. Make that nice and sharp. Hit OK. I'm going to take that polygon there, select its edges. I'm just going to come down here and increase its crease parameter all the way. I'm also going to go to my subdivision surface parameters, give this thing 2 iterations. Go to the top up here, do the same thing. Grab the polygon, get its edges, and increase the crease parameter all the way up. And right here we can see we have some penetration. Obviously the image isn't the best, and it has some perspective distortion, so that's you can expect that to happen. So I'm just going to go in here real quick. I'm going to take that edge there at the bottom, this one right here, select its loop, and I'm going to chamfer that. Now with the extra geometry, I can control the shape of this thing a lot better. So if I wasn't happy with my initial shape, I can just add more geometry to this, and it'll allow me to control the shape a lot better. So what I'm going to do here is take all the top ones up here and simply just move them to the side. Yeah, it's not one-to-one accurate with the image, but really it doesn't matter. So I'm going to move it to about there, to the point where it's almost touching, something like that. It doesn't have to touch. You'll see why in a moment. If you look at our reference image, we do have some little details here, these little objects, kind of these little divot pieces that pretty much complete the entire thing, put these pieces together. So I'm going to be creating those right now. And the way I'm going to create that's actually pretty easy. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to get myself a sphere, make sure that auto grid's turned on. I'm just going to do my best here to draw a little sphere right in the middle, right there. Okay. And it didn't exactly rotate it the way I would have liked it to, so I'll just rotate it manually like that. I'm going to go to local mode, move that back a little bit like that. What I need to do is move this to about the halfway point, right about here. Okay. If I go to wireframe mode, I can see that I have some polygons back there that I can work with, so I'm going to convert this thing to an editable poly. Turn on my ignore back facing, grab just the back polygons right there. And I could extrude them and pull that in on local mode into the big sphere right there. And I'll just delete those polygons to get rid of them. I don't need them. Okay. I'm going to select all the polygons, and I'm going to come down here to the bottom. I'm going to do an auto smooth. And there we go. Boom, that piece is done. Okay. Alright, let's have a look at the reference image again. You can see we have kind of this little detail line up here. So let's go ahead and create that little detail, just to make this thing look a little bit better. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to grab myself a loop of edges up here. This loop looks like it's going to work out pretty good. I'm going to chamfer that just a little bit. Maybe like about maybe this much right here. Looks pretty good. I'll grab myself a couple of polygons there. Grab myself the loop. And I'm going to extrude, go to the extrude options, go by local normal. And put it in, just pull it in just a little bit like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab myself these two loops right here. I'm going to chamfer that. 2 segments. Make it a very small chamfer to sharpen that up. We'll end up with something like this. This looks kind of cool, kind of like the image. Okay. Alright, we're done with that so far. Now let's go ahead and create these 3 pieces that we need. Okay, we need 3 pieces that go all the way around. So the way that we can do this, the quickest and easiest way, is using the array tool, which we've used previously in past volumes in this series. And if you didn't go over those volumes, or you've just forgot, I'll show you how to use the array tool right now. What I'm going to do is I'll make sure that my grid and snap settings I have set to vertex mode, which is correct. I'm going to grab the little divot piece over here, for lack of a better name. You can see at the angle right now it's not very good. So I'm going to go over here to the adjust to the pivot hierarchy tab over here. And I'm going to go ahead and align the affect the pivot only. I'm going to go ahead and affect the pivot only, align it to the world. I'm going to take the pivot point and snap it to the vertex on the top of the sphere. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for this guy over here. So I'm going to take its pivot point, adjust it, align it to world, snap it to the top vertex up there. Okay. So let's take the little divot piece here and let's do this one. Let's go to the array tool in the tools menu. Okay. We're going to go with copy. We need 3 pieces. Okay. You can turn on preview mode. And what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and use the rotate over here. So I'll go with total. Total will work out just fine. I want to go with a total of 360 degrees so it goes all the way around. Hit OK. And there we go. You can see it created 3 for us perfectly. Alright. I'm going to take this guy, since I adjusted the pivot point, it's going to go around the center of the sphere right there. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to the array tool. And it's already adopting my previous options. So when I hit preview, you can see everything's perfectly fine. See that? Perfect. And there we go. That is pretty much done. Down here, with this guy, we have to fix this. So I'm going to take the bottom polygons here. Actually, I'll just take this edge right there, grab its loop, give it some crease all the way, and there we go. Perfect. Alright, so I'm going to end this video here, and in the next one we're going to see about finishing this thing off.